Right, there we go. We're rolling.
Forever, so.
Rolling again.
Oh, watch you don't knock it, so lean.
So lean. So the video cut out because I'm a dummy and I didn't fucking charge it fully. But anyway, we're back.
Rolling with it. I'm not mad. Rolling with it. It's all cool. Rolling with it. I know you don't fuck with the shit I do, but I still love rolling.
Yeah, so this is the first question that we got from you guys. So all we're going to do is just answer them one by one and just give our honest feedback on what we sort of experienced throughout our prep and basically our own sort of take on each question.
Okay, so the first question was snacks that saved you on a diet.
Snacks that saved you. Right, do you want to go first?
Okay, well, I think that it kind of depends what time of the day it is, because at night time, if you don't have very many calories left, you want something that's a bit less palatable so it doesn't set your cravings off.
Big time, yeah.
One of my friends actually got me a popcorn machine, which has been a lifesaver, because it means you don't need any oil or butter to cook the popcorn kernels.
Right.
So it's quite bland, and then you can just flavour it with like paprika or cinnamon, stuff like that.
Very good.
I found that was like a really good go-to because it doesn't set your cravings off.
Yeah, that's one thing. The only thing I had was then we popcorn bites, you know, the wee sort of, I can't actually remember the name of them. Yeah, something like that. But it's like 60 calories for the bag. Yeah. And that's what I sort of did snack on. Other things was like Hartley's jellies. So
oh my god, no.
Big time, like, did you not go near them?
They're gross.
Oh my god, I had about maybe 3 or 4 a day. Obviously, don't eat 3 or 4 a day, but that's what I had towards the end of my prep to keep my stomach full. Just things that more or less were lower in calories that more or less filled you up. That was my kind of thing, anything else. Can you?
I think rice cakes and corn thins.
Right.
But the corn thins from Sainsbury's are better than the ones from Tesco.
Really?
The Tesco ones are really bland.
Yeah.
Don't get
the only thing I had was caramel gluten-free rice cakes, and they're like 41 calories for the wheat. They're actually quite big, about that size. Like.
The corn thins I think are around 26 calories.
There you go. Go them ones. Go them ones if you want.
Yeah, and ham or cheese or something, or like turkey slices on them.
Next question.
Would you recommend someone doing a show who has only been in the gym for less than 1 year?
Right, so this is what we were just talking about before we started. I would say that for me, I had maybe 3 years on and off training that wasn't properly structured before I got into my first show. For me, it would be, if I was advising someone to go for a show, it would be maybe like have a wee bit more time, especially if you're young, before you get into a show, because you need that base, that foundation before you actually get on stage, because you have to get very lean. Obviously the standards of shows, the body fat levels has to be very low, so you need to cut down to a specific weight. So if you don't have a good foundation to go from, it might be a wee bit hard for you to more or less compete at a high level, maybe even place. So just take that into consideration when you're going forward. If you've got a good base to go from, maybe, but if you don't, just take a wee bit longer.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. I think that something that's really important is getting a good coach. I think people don't actually invest the time in researching who it is they're going to sometimes, and they'll give you a realistic time frame. No matter how much you know, you will always second guess yourself. I mean, I've seen people prep you pretty much.
Yeah, second time round now I did prep myself, because I had that experience. Obviously my prep coach before helped me with my first show, then I got a wee bit more experience and did it myself. The first time round I definitely would advise, like Susie said, getting a good coach and research who it is you're getting, because obviously like experience is the number one thing. See how many people that prep and the results they got before you actually go to them.
Exactly, and like your off season is so important in building up to that, and building up your calories so that you do have somewhere to go when it comes to cutting. Otherwise you'll leave yourself in like a huge calorie deficit and trying to build that back up again. It's like,
you want to diet obviously on as high calories as possible, so then when you're off season you want your calories being pretty high, so you're not necessarily dieting when you get into show prep on like minimal calories. There's nothing worse than being hungry 8 weeks out and you're carrying that the whole way through because you've got no calories to go from.
So make sure your maintenance calories are high before you even begin.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Just make sure that when you do get maintenance calories, you're trying to get them as high as possible. So get active, get in the gym, build muscle before maybe thinking about going on a diet towards a show prep.
What did you enjoy most about show prep in general?
Right, me?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nah, it was, for me, it was more like the goal to work towards. Like, this is what I said to a lot of people, like clients as well. It was like when I had that set date, I knew there was a certain time period to get to that. So if I didn't put the work in every single day, when it came to the show day and I didn't put that work in, I would find that more or less you wouldn't do well, because you were the only person consistently. Yes, you did have a coach, but at the end of the day, he's not going to get you out of bed in the morning to go do cardio and go training. So it was more the feeling of maybe being like consistently like checking off goals along the way towards that end set. Yeah. Like you feel like a sense of accomplishment. That's it. More like that sense of pride that you have in yourself, that you set a date, you set a goal, and then you're working towards that and you're staying consistent with it.
Yeah. think enjoying the process as well is like so important, because you're only on stage for such a short period of time that if that's what you're aiming towards and you're so looking forward to that one day, like just enjoy the whole time.
Big time, like that's what I would say. Like when it comes to the show date, it's this sort of pinnacle that you have, like it's going to be unreal, it's going to be unreal. But once you, like Susie said, if you can enjoy the sort of prep leading up to it, obviously it's going to be hard for your dad. But if you enjoy every single sort of week leading up to that show, the show day won't have as much pressure on it because you did enjoy the journey as opposed to leading up to one day.
Because if you don't get in top 3, like in UKBFF, you only get your quarter turns and you're off.
Exactly, you're literally on stage for about a minute or two.
Yeah,
and
it flies.
More or less the amount of time that you put into that, it's like a big sort of like letdown if you don't place. But again, just enjoy the whole experience, and like Susie said, just take each week, take each time as it comes, and just more or less make the most of it.
I think for me it was probably the people I met, because I wouldn't have had the opportunity, like Coach Phil Graham, like I wouldn't have had the opportunity to kind of learn from him. I've learned so much that I've been able to apply to my own work, and then posing with, I got to pose with Natalia Mello, which was amazing. She was such a great help, and I practiced day and night from June, like 1st of June, right the way through until show day, twice a day, like every mirror, so vain, I don't care.
Yeah, but that's sort of what you do. You just put as much time talking about posing practice as what you do into the gym, especially towards the end, because when it comes on stage, it's not necessarily, yes, the physique shows, but it's how you show it yourself. Like if you're getting on stage, you're like a robot, you're not necessarily going to go and play as well, because the judges are going to see you being quite stiff, and it's all about how you show. Yeah, the full package more or less, because when you get on stage, it's not just about how you look, it's how you present yourself to everybody watching too.
Yeah, but I think even as well, like yourself, the people you meet in the gym and like who push you on whenever days are just rubbish.
Yeah, like I met you on prep. I met like Ryan, Robbie, like Corner, just Ben, like Daniel, just different people who more or less who share the same interest, and then when you meet those people, you just become friends automatically because you do share that passion that you wouldn't meet everybody in general life just the same way. Yeah, exactly. You're not gonna meet them in the club, so yeah, that's a big thing.
Best exercises to tone up.
Right. So do you want you start with this, right?
Okay.
She wants to start with this question.
I mean, I get that question, and a lot of people say it, but the phrase "tone up," it's just like I don't like. I have a real aversion to it. So I think that the question kind of just means generally overall improve your physique, like kind of tighten things up. So I'm thinking like cellulite and like just kind of stomach area, that kind of thing.
Stuff like that,
So that's just excess body fat that you're wanting to trim down, and to be honest, you're going to have to reduce your body fat overall. There's no spot reduction, there's no magic gel or like tablet or anything that you can take, so just hard work and consistency really, so improving your diet and getting into the gym. And I think that that's where weight training really is superior to, I mean cardio has its place, but weight training will obviously boost like your metabolic rate, so you're going to end up burning more calories at rest, which means that you will then lose fat.
Yeah, exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. Like I get a lot of people like even coming and saying like, I'd like to tone up, blah blah blah. Basically tone up means, like she said, it's losing body fat, not muscle. So that is what it is. It's muscle in the absence of fat, and if you tone up, you have to weight train. On top of cardio as well, they both go hand in hand, but if you don't weight train and you do cardio, it's just going to be, you're going to just be a smaller version of yourself. If you want to tone up, you have to have muscle by doing weight training. So it is a really good point.
That was a good way of putting it, retaining muscle mass while losing fat.
Yeah, but
that's what
exactly.
toning up is.
Yeah, more or less. Like.
Okay, right. Did you have cheat meals on prep?
Me? Yeah, a lot. Maybe
Did
too
you
many.
prescribe them to yourself?
Yeah, more or less. Like there was times where I was getting up like, Jesus, I was having my own cheat meals at 4 in the morning, like, but we'll not talk about that. But when I went out of the weekend, say like my family had a meal, on Saturday I would more or less structure my whole week around having that sort of cheat meal. If you get my cheat meals, just enjoying family time, because you try not to like close yourself off and prep too much, because you do go a wee bit crazy. So you try to enjoy the things that you would enjoy just in normal life. So for me it was just more structuring my week, so I allowed myself to make up at the weekend if I did have like a cheat meal, but the calories were a wee bit higher. I'd just reduce them the day before and the day after to make up.
Exactly. Well, mine was slightly different in that I got refeeds scheduled in occasionally, just whenever I was very depleted, but it was more, it wasn't from an actual like physical stance, it wasn't because I was looking too lean or anything like that, but it was just, I was mentally fatigued and needed.
Yeah, it was like a dad break, because you do need it, because your calories are quite low sometimes, so you do need that sort of like mental fix again, just to get food that necessarily you wouldn't have had throughout your week. I just feel like it's like a reward almost, but more or less like...
You enjoy it so much more as well when you have it to look to it,
Yeah,
and you're just
yeah,
like,
exactly,
wait for
exactly. The thing I found hard was when I had that, like you're saying about like the sugar rush.
Going back.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard to go back to when you actually structurally eat again, back to your sort of diet as such. So
Were there any foods you completely like could not have? I'm just thinking about this because I
Because it
couldn't
just
have
set me
Nutella.
off.
I couldn't have Nutella on prep at all.
I would say probably pizza, like, because I really crave savoury foods as opposed to sweet foods. So like if I had a slice of pizza and there was a full pizza sitting there, like I would have just wanted the full thing, and it would have been hard. But
At the beginning of prep, I used to go to malls and get the little, they have like mini jars of Nutella.
oh really?
To try and ration it myself, but then I would just end up buying a full jar.
Yeah,
Or like the
it is.
Biscoff.
Like we're all human, like that was our first preps and we made so many mistakes about it, like, but
So
it's just
many.
it's about learning from it and more or less accepting that you're going to make these mistakes. If you try to chase just 100% perfection each time, you're going to go crazy. You know, it's just
Have to start somewhere.
do the best you can do and just go from there. Like.
Okay, did your training change much while prepping for a show?
For me, the first time round, not necessarily too much. It was more, I had like high volume of training, like just lots of sets, lots of reps throughout my entire prep, leading even into the diet, so it didn't change too much. But the second time round, it did slightly, because it did change my programming up a wee bit. It was more trying to maintain as much strength as possible for the maybe 8 weeks out, and then from there just going into more higher rep range, just making sure that, you know, I am burning more calories in my workouts, and again just maybe starting with a main lift and just relatively keeping my strength hopefully around the same or just a wee bit less. But yeah.
Yeah, mine did change. Whenever I contacted Phil, it would have been September, October. It would have been around September, and then I basically started prep from October right the way through until August. But it wasn't in a deficit until sort of January, February time.
Yep.
But at the beginning of my prep, I was in a job where I was sedentary most of the time. So I was training twice a day in order
To make up for it,
basically. And I also hadn't done very many bodyweight exercises, so press ups, pull ups.
They were all put up to it.
And they were really tough to learn. Like it took me ages, but I saw results so much faster with that than what I've been doing with all my little accessory
Exactly, and that's the thing, like, you know, a lot of people when they first started the gym, I was one of those people as well, that you just jump on a bench and you start loading it, like, before you can probably do a full press up. So like if you can take one thing from that, learn the basics, like a pull variation, like a chin up, a push variation, like a press up, and then, like, you know, just sort of different body weight exercises that you get stronger on first before you go into loaded exercises. That's like a piece of advice I could give myself.
Yeah, focusing on the fundamentals and then building from there, it'll just transfer over into all your lifts as well.
Exactly.
Right. How much cardio did you do on prep?
Oh, right. For me, 8 weeks. Well, actually, it was so. My prep more or less lasted. The diet phase lasted for 14 weeks, 12 weeks. I didn't include cardio until the last 12 weeks out. And for me, it was started off for the first 4 weeks of those 12 doing 3 30-minute sessions, and then eventually in the last 8 weeks going 4 30-minute sessions, and then the last 2 weeks I did 30 minutes every session. So it was a wee bit high, but it's just due to the fact that I needed to get body fat down by a certain time. But it did.
Too many of those 4 a.m. cheat meals?
Yeah, too many, because it did have to make up for them 4 a.m. cheat meals that I prescribed myself at night. Like, but,
I didn't really have cardio added in until, let's see, like about a month or two out from the show. But I would have been fairly active anyway, going out for walks and stuff like that. But then I got set amount of cardio to do. Phil tried to get me to is this like a Fitbit?
Fitbit, yeah.
Okay. Phil tried to get me to get one of those, and I just point back and face. I don't wear jewellery. Like, I just can't. It annoys me.
Yeah.
So, but these are really good. Like, I would recommend them.
Yeah, I wear it every day. Like.
It'll remind you to kind of stand up, and I think
it makes
if
more
you're sitting
conscious.
because I was sitting all day and my hip flexors were really tight, so getting up and doing that walk helped. But in terms of cardio for fat loss, I would have been doing 2 20-minute like walks for the pretty much the full duration of prep until the last 2 months, and then I would be adding in 20 minutes in the morning or evening.
Right, okay.
And I wouldn't have done, I don't think I didn't have any form of HIIT. I occasionally had progress sprints in my program, and that would have been it. So really,
that's just another thing. The only thing I really did cardio wise was maybe less, so like low intensity steady state, and then maybe the last 2-3 weeks I did up to like a light jog. It wasn't any real HIIT I did, it was just more like low
I think
impact.
with HIIT, the problem with it is it's quite easy to injure yourself.
Oh yeah,
And then that means that you're out, and prep you don't want that risk. So that's why again a longer prep is much
Oh yeah, big time. Just take it nice and
possible.
slowly.
Let's see. Should you include chest exercises in your workouts? So this is for females.
For females.
Yeah, so 100% yes. You can't just ignore a body part completely. Like, you need to train your body as a whole.
Yeah.
What I would say though is I don't do a whole load of like flat bench. You know, I don't really test. We were talking about 1 rep max. I don't really test my 1 rep max at bench.
Yeah.
But I would incorporate exercises like single arm chest press, which does work your chest, but it also puts a lot of stress on your core.
Yeah.
And then I would occasionally put in bench, but I would maybe superset it with like a press up as well, which again is working your chest, core. Kind of just, I wouldn't really do too much isolation work. Just like, I wouldn't do a full chest day per se, but I would add it in.
Chest. Well, for me, obviously, like
no international chest day for me.
Yeah, it was centered around a female question, but the boys, like, you can't miss chest day. Like Monday, chest day.
Okay. Why can I not eat as much as you and be as lean?
Right. So yeah, that was more like a question based around like basically looking at. I think somebody seen like Susie and Rachel's photos and thought like, you know, the amount of calories that they're on and eating at the moment compared to what they're eating, and just wondering why they can't be in as good shape as what they are. Do you want to answer that?
Well, first of all, let me start with I'm not in anywhere near show prep like condition right now, so you know I'm taking some time off and that's fine, and sometimes you need that.
Yeah.
But obviously it depends on what level of training you're at. So I obviously would hold a lot more muscle mass than someone who is untrained, which means that I burn more calories doing absolutely nothing than somebody who is the same stature, the same height, weight, etc. So the more muscle that you build, you will build more calories at rest, which then you will burn more calories at rest. Which then allows you to eat more calories in general. Which is the only reason I really train, so that I can eat more.
Yeah, that's exactly the same. Like people ask me when I'm sort of bulking at the moment why I do cardio. It's because, well, for general health reasons for your heart, and because I want to eat more food. Like I'm a big eater, so like even for me now, like I'm on 3,700 calories. I have to almost control staying on that calorie limit because my hunger is just crazy. So I do cardio to make up for it if I do go over certain days. Like.
But if that's something you're struggling with, I would definitely recommend contacting like the likes of Phil or a coach who can help you get your like, what do you call that?
Your sort of BMR up with just more or less the amount of calories you burn just sitting every day. And like Susie said, just from adding muscle to your frame, it's going to make more or less calories burn a lot quicker throughout the day. Like.
And also just enhances your shape. Like, you know, broader shoulders means smaller waist, bigger glutes, smaller waist.
Exactly. So just the answer to that in general is just get a good foundation of muscle in your frame, and more or less that'll allow you to burn more calories at rest. And the more active you are means the more like calories you can more or less eat and not put on as much weight.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were things you find most difficult about prep?
So what were the things you found most difficult about prep? For me, energy levels. So like if you had to go about your daily sort of routine, your job outside of prep, it was one of the things that I found was most difficult. So like just like maintaining concentration, like we're both personal trainers, and like just towards the end especially, I did take time off towards the end of the show because you're just not all there. Like your brain's not getting the sort of like sugar it needs to function, so you're not going to be able to function as often. Yeah, you're just you're tired, like, you know, you're more or less zoned out some days, like. But for me it was energy levels and just trying to stay on track with normal everyday life in a way, like.
Trying to motivate people as well. So
exactly.
Like a grumpy day.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think mine was probably my family. I mean, my siblings knew that I was competing, but my parents didn't know, and I was living with my dad for the second part, like the kind of second half of my prep, and it's kind of hard to explain like why you're weighing food out and that kind of stuff. He didn't really ask very much, to be fair, and he kind of let it slide, but there was one day that was really frustrating. Like, prep really tests your patience.
Oh yeah.
And I came in at 10 o'clock and I was like so excited for this meal I prepped, and I came in the kitchen and my dad was like, "Oh, thanks for plating me up for dinner."
Oh yeah.
And I was like,
"Really? No, you can't."
Yeah.
You were looking forward to that all day,
and then all I could think of was, I have planned my macros to a T, and I know I have to figure out what's going to fit in. There was only like prawns. I said prawns and oats.
Oh,
it was awful. And like, I felt so bad because he was so happy that I made it, but
really?
it wasn't for him.
No. Did you tell him that it was for you?
No, I just I was really grumpy, and I think because your family, if you don't tell them, then they don't understand why you're being so moody, and they think that you're just on some crazy diet. But I couldn't tell my family because I was afraid that they would put me off doing it. So I just kept
that's
it to
one
myself.
thing for me, like, because like talking about what Susie said about family, like I did tell my parents about maybe, I don't know, I think it was around April time, so the show for me was in August, both our shows, and I told them back in April. For me it was even hard to set up because I used to play like football a lot, and then it was just a wee bit of this transition going into it. It was like, well, what's this about? So for me it was quite difficult to break the news to them, but just more or less once your family gets on board with it, they accept, because at the end of the day it's what we love doing. You know what I mean? So
my family don't.
no, well, if they don't,
if they don't, then it's, you have to just decide,
you just do you. At the end of the day, your happiness is the main
They're
thing.
happy if you're happy, so, but that's why it's kind of hard with prep, because you really don't look very happy all the time. So
we're not trying to put you off prep, we're just giving like a real
no, it's just
insight
a real time.
What it is from our experiences, like, you know, there is hard days, there is good days as well, but it's just those days where not necessarily you're 100% in the best mood. You just need to watch out for it.
I think after it, whenever they probably saw you on stage and like doing your thing, they were like, yes, this is awesome. Yeah.
So next question.
Is the journey worth the end result?
Right.
I think it depends on what the end result is for you.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. For me, first time round, even though it did win the show, it was like I put that, like I was talking about that from experience, I put that end date on like a pedestal, like that's how you're going to feel in the day, you're going to feel 100%, you're going to feel great. And then when it did win, it was like, oh, you know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily that feeling that you built up. Whereas the second time round, it did go and do a different show, and it didn't even place, but the whole journey leading up to it, I was a wee bit more mentally sort of tuned in to the actual journey as opposed to the end result. So in my eyes, yes, if you go about it the right way, and you're not necessarily focused on the show day, and you look at the whole maybe 16 weeks that you're prepping, every single time that you check off maybe like a goal,
exactly.
You're feeling that sense of accomplishment. Like,
I think that Phil prepared me for that though quite well, so I didn't put all my hopes on the day, because like, you know, it'll pass so quickly that you really need to be mindful of each day as it comes. And the kind of skill set that you develop when you're on prep, like time management, perseverance, patience, like all these little things add up, and just take it and apply it to whatever it is you want to do down the line. You know, for some people competing is a viable option of like they can make it big, but there's so many different factors that depends on, and I just think that it really depends on what you're trying to get out of the show. And for me, it was more learning experience, and it seems to be the same for you as well. So in that case, it was very much worth it. I learned a lot. And
this is what I just learned from as well. Don't do it for other people. If you're trying to impress somebody else by doing a show, you're not going to stick to it like long term.
When they're there not watching.
Yeah, exactly. If it's for you deep down, it's something you want, you will stick to it every single day. You'll get up for it and you won't question why you're doing it. If you're doing it for somebody else to make it look like you're in shape or blah blah blah, trying to impress other people, you're not
going to be there at 5 a.m.
Exactly.
Get up for cardio.
You'll go crazy. Like,
Like, so is bulk life better than shredded life?
Yes.
Yeah, 100% is so much better.
Don't ever want to leave this thing, ever.
The only hard thing is it takes so much longer to get a good selfie.
Yeah.
Because, like,
we spent maybe, the thumbnail for this video was like, we were going to take the best one, but like, it was literally trying to get a good angle because you're not as shredded. Yeah, we're going to Photoshop the thumbnail. That's what we're going to do. Like.
But no, definitely in terms of like, whenever you're working and studying and stuff like that, I just feel better having the extra calories and not, it's not even that I was on a very low calorie diet, but it's just the knowing that I can have whatever I want without the fear of going over my calories and stuff like that. That's it. It's just for me, like the energy that is there, like the drive in the gym, I enjoy training a lot more, and more or less you can get on with everyday life without thinking about food all the time. You know, that's one thing when you aren't prep, you're consistently thinking about food. You miss out on opportunities as well. Sometimes like when if a holiday comes up or something like that, you have to then think about your food whenever you're over there, you're training, all that kind of stuff.
Although just talking about holidays, on my first prep I did go to Ibiza for 7 days, just throwing it out there, like 8 weeks out. But I did train 7 days. What did you eat?
What did you drink?
I only drank 2 nights, to be fair, and I didn't actually get drunk.
Did you come back later?
No, I actually went 1 pound heavier, that was it.
1 pound?
I did cardio every day, I did weights every day, that's where I dislocated my shoulder. Yeah, don't do weights when you're hungover, it's not a good sort of thing. No. But yeah, just more or less try to not plan a holiday and prep, it doesn't really go too well. But
I was on a holiday, but it was like February, that was the ages out, so it was fine. And then I also, This is something that I probably would talk about. I went on holiday straight after my show, and that was really hard. Like, your head hasn't quite reset from being on diet, and I was a torture to my family, probably, so...
Yeah, that's like a video in itself, talking about prep after, more or less, like, isn't it? Because the things that you do experience, like, after it is quite difficult to deal with, but a lot of competitors out there will talk about the same thing, like, just getting from the transition from dieting into everyday life again, where you can maybe eat a bit more and stuff, and you're seeing body fat go on your body again. It can be quite tough mentally, but it's just something that you have to deal with and accept that you're not always going to be in that condition going into, you know, everyday life.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, there we go. We're rolling.
Forever, so.
Rolling again.
Oh, watch you not get so lean.
So lean. So the video cut out because I'm a dummy and I didn't fucking charge it fully. But anyway, we're back.
Best exercises for building glutes.
Yeah.
Which Matthew apparently doesn't train.
No, I do train. It's just a wee bit of band work I do and then hip thrust, but she's the glute girl.
No, everyone needs to train glutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so important. Everything is important, you know, balance, but glutes are like...
Aye, for women, for guys it's chest and arms, for girls it's bum and legs, like, but...
I think that we're kind of over the whole fact that squats are the beyond end all. So you don't just have to squat for glutes. Like, yes, squat is a really good exercise, great compound lift, but I find it's actually more quad dominant for me, and given the length of my femur, I have to squat really wide. It's just it can be quite an uncomfortable movement for me. So I would usually just avoid back squat because I end up leaning forward so much that I prefer the front squat, which kind of counterbalances a bit, brings in some core and works my quads, and the goblet squat as well then. But again, they're more quad dominant, so for glutes I would do hip thrusts, which you're saying you do too.
Yeah, hip thrusting.
Yep. Banded side steps, you do those? Yeah, they're really good. And then I think cable pull throughs are really good. And back extensions, so if you don't have anything in your gym to that, you'll definitely have a lat pull down, I'd say. So like, you can lock your legs in under the lat pull down and round your shoulders off. We're saying Brett Contreras.
Yeah, Brett Contreras, the glute guy. So the glute guy, he's more or less who made the whole hip thrusting thing mainstream, and a lot of people have taken that because of all the scientific background to it. Like, the whole glute activation is a lot higher with hip thrusts as opposed to just different exercises, like you said. But
but I would go on there if you're stuck for technique or anything like that. That's the blessed
place to go is Brett Contreras. I think that's how he says his last name. I don't know. Who knows, right? The last question was, does Susie even lift? And I don't know, do you even lift, like?
I feel like after that the bench press.
Yeah, you'll see in the video she definitely does lift. Like, for a girl, she's very strong, and I just made sure that she didn't outlift me today because I can't let that happen, like, you know.
But we're not going to do any more of the bashing off the racks.
No more bashing off the racks. I'm going to slow that
down
down so it doesn't look like it's been bashed off the rack, like, so it's all good. But no, that's more or less all the questions. We did our best answering just from our own experience. We're not the most knowledgeable, obviously, in any sort of like aspect of what we've talked about, but we're just giving our own take on what we experience going with different things. But yeah, thank you for the questions. Thank you, Susie, for helping me out and getting the workout in. But I'll link all her sort of like links down below with her Instagram and Facebook, etc., so you can hit her up with a follow. But yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. That'll do. Hopefully that didn't die. No, I don't think so. No.
Could you imagine?
Rolling with it. I'm not mad. Rolling with it. It's all cool. Rolling with it. I know you don't fuck with the shit I do, but I still love you. Rolling with it. Rolling with it. Rolling with it. I'm not mad.